Start recording. Excellent. Okay. So good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for coming. My name is Judy Kitt. I'm the president of the Foundation for Mind Being Research, also known as FMBR. We were founded in 1980 by scientists and artists and healers who were interested in the nature of human consciousness. So for 40 years, we met once a month in Palo Alto, California, as kind of a forum for people who were exploring the nature of reality to present their work. This included physicists and shamans, alternative healers, psychologists, really anyone who was working to expand the context within which we see ourselves and the world. So once the pandemic hit, we, like a lot of people, we moved everything online. And for the last 4 years, we've continued to explore and have wonderful people join us to talk about their work. So if you would like to check us out, we're at fmbr.org. And all of our presentations from the past, many years are on our YouTube page, which is FMBR TV. So you can check us out there. Our guest this evening is here by special request of an FMBR member who has followed her work at various presentations at conferences over the years. And if you're unfamiliar with her, and I hope most of you are not, you'll soon see why we're so excited to have her here. Atala Toy is a nature beings photographer, an interdimensional communicator whose career dates back to 1995. She is and has been an author, educator, photographer, product designer, retail business owner, and community activist. She has presented on interdimensional topics at annual conventions, offered workshops for organizations, and has appeared on TV and radio shows. Happily so. I'm so glad, because I think what you're doing, Atala, is so exciting and really paradigm shifting. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I'm sure you're gonna talk about this. You talk about your work as being glitch eco art.
Right.
This is a new term I haven't heard before.
And I'm going to explain it in the presentation.
Excellent. So we'll go ahead and start the presentation.
All right.
People can put in their questions in the chat, and we will go to your slides.
Okay, now let's see. I'm not sure. I don't think this is the right one.
I think that's correct.
Let me get out of that. Here. All right. My show from the beginning. Okay, so thank you so much, Judy, and thank you, Jerry Jin, who I met out at the Flagstaff Dowsers Conference. I am a specialist in interdimensional communication. And so this is my explanation of how it works, how I've evolved over the years. And I am so happy to be presenting to a group of people who are really interested in this topic and have been for many years. So thank you, Judy, so much for inviting me. I appreciate that. So this is the eco art of Earth's other-than-human life forms. And the question is, are they more skilled than human artists? And this is something I want you to consider as I go through this presentation. So I am if you're going to classify me, I'm a documentarian and a social activist, an interdimensional glitch eco art and street photographer. And I'm also a contract photographer for the nature beings. That is, I'm under contract with them to take their photos, and they lead me to the interesting scenes, and it's my job to present them so that you can understand that this is an intelligent, sentient civilization. So here are the types of beings I work with. I work with the light forms. This is Metatron's cube. And they are, they are unmanifested, but as people who work with sacred geometry know, they're also intelligent and communicate through this interdimensional method of communication that I have yet to figure out. But we communicate that way, and I get information from them. I also work with the gnomes. Here's a gnome here. I work with the elves, and the elves are one of the most varied of the nature species. And then I work with my good friend, the green men here. So I'm going to be showing you some of the information they tell me. The information I have, I'm getting directly from the nature beings, not from books and anybody's system, but directly what they want to share with me. And now, one thing I want to explain is I am what's known as a savant, and my ability is to be able to communicate with anything that needs to be communicated with. The rest of my life and other things I do, very, very normal. I happen to have this one spectrum of ability. And most of my life has been spent learning to differentiate and to compartmentalize so that I'm not getting all this information coming in from so many dimensions at once. So because of this, I've learned to investigate and see what all these different fields are and tell you guys. And in what I'm doing, this is, again, it's metaphysics. I'm going to be telling you, explaining the science, but I'm sure that many of the people listening here are probably much more familiar with the science than I am. So I'm just directing you to these different fields. So the energetic concepts I'm working with are frequency, resonance, and consciousness. And in this, it's like a husband and wife or friends. Two people can look at the same object, yet see two different things, depending upon the frequency with which they're identifying. And I was spinning through the internet and found somebody put this meme up from my book. We are like radio signals, receiving many frequencies at once. We need to be taught to tune into only one frequency at a time. We can then learn to turn the dial to receive the frequency we're interested in knowing about and communicating with. So basically, that's what I do in my communication. I go into a situation and I feel where the frequency is and where that life form is working from, and then connect. And beings in other dimensions can see your heart. They can see where you're coming from. So I work from a state of ahimsa, or non-harm to any living life form. And because I have a contract, they put like a contract in my energy field. So when I go in, people can read the contract. These beings read the contract, and then they give me free access to do my job. So over the years, I've written a number of books. My most recent ones are We Are Not Alone, and that's a guidebook to interdimensional cooperation. And that tells the science behind it, as I've been taught by the Melchizedeks and the different teachers that I've been to internally, the internal teaching. And then I have nature, spirit guides, and ghosts. And this is where I was coming down from the metaphysical level and more what's happening in the different of the earth realms. And then most recently, I published a photo book, Truths the Nature Beings Have Shown Me. And in this, for my 20 years of photographic work, I now have a body of thousands of photos that I have been able to categorize into different aspects of the nature beings society. And I'm going to share a bit of that with you tonight. If this is of interest to you, you can visit me at my website, email me, and join me on Facebook. I have a private gathering where people who are interested can share with each other, and on Instagram. So now, as to Judy's question, the component parts. Why do I call this glitch eco art? Well, glitch art, in a technical sense, according to here glitchology.com, is an unexpected result of malfunction, especially occurring in software, video games, images, etc. And it can be made by capturing an image of a glitch as it randomly happens. Rosa Mencken is one of the most well-known of the glitch artists, one of the original ones. And this is a computer program, that glitch that she turned into a work of art. It's been evolving since the 1970s, and by the 1990s, artists have extended the concept into ecological terms. So they're working, here's a face, of breaking apart of the human personality. They're beginning to explore what happens when glitches occur in ecology. I have further extended this concept, exploring the images discovered when the fabric between frequencies and dimensions, quote, glitches. This is places where the dimensional veils have thinned out and we can see through into other realms. And I bring it forward in my photography to show you. So here's one of the well-known medieval 1670s woodcut of a man, and he's looking through the glitch of the fabric of the earth, and he looking through and seeing the universe. Up here is, you could say, is it a glitch? This is a piece of a pine tree that asked me to photograph him. If you're looking at that, would you just say, oh, that's some moss in a tree trunk? Or would you say that this is an art piece? Well, my daughter-in-law, when I took this up at Tanglewood, pointed out that it looked an awful lot like one of the photographs of one of the founders, Henry Hadley. And here is his profile. And here's the profile of the pine tree. And that pine tree overlooks the grand lawn where the Tanglewood concerts are held. So, you know, what do you say to that? Now, eco art, the other part is eco art, and human being eco art is a type of art that explores ecological issues. And the eco artists are using their work to raise awareness about the beauty and importance of the natural world. So here is a lot of the AI nowadays is being used to create this art. I do not use AI in mine, except maybe to take out a telephone line. Everything in mine is what I've seen, and all I do is will heighten the contrast. So I want to show you how, let's see, Nature Beings Eco Art is proactive. The artist is working with the living energies of the material to express, record, or change various situations. So here is one of the last American elms. It lives at Longwood Gardens. It's right at the entrance. It's loved by everyone. It's under a lot of stress, and the arborists do a lot of work to it. And here you see what it usually looks like. You can see there are a lot of nature beings. They're also working to preserve the tree, and they look a little stressed. Here's an eye, nose. Here's like an American Indian formed of a larger portion. The nature spirits and nature beings love to do Picasso-like drawings where they will overlay images, perspectives, and the more that this occurs in a tree shows the artistic capacity of the artist. But showing you how they really are alive and can change. This is an image, the same one, but this was the opening day this year of Longwood Gardens' famed Christmas light show. And everybody was coming in and they were so happy. It was so beautiful. And you can see here that the expression has actually changed of this being who is now very, very happy. And this being here, who looks very sad and drawn, is also very happy with a smile. So this indicates the difference between human art and the nature being art. In the nature being, humans, we have to cut down the tree and carve out the wood. The nature beings work with the living energy of the wood to create something beautiful and fruitful and positive for Earth. So a different approach. Now, I call my work interdimensional glitch eco art, and that's because I am working with other realms, not just the physical, what you can see. And there are two definitions of this. First, it's the artwork created by nature beings and other than human life forms that crosses glitches in the dimensional walls and can be seen in our dimension. So that's one aspect of it. And the other is my photographic presentation of nature beings' activities that has glitched into our human dimension. Now, we're going to get in a little bit more on what I'm seeing. So nature beings are more aware of human beings than we are of them. And nature beings artwork is usually, it's a grounding point for a living web of energy, and it's a remedial correcting of land issues, sometimes caused by humans. The artwork of the nature beings is interactive with the environment and works with the life force energy of the medium to create positive living art. And here, this is the road going into Bear Lake at Rocky Mountain National Park, one of my favorite places to visit. And I've always passed these two big boulders that sit in the grass on the side of the road. And every time I go by them, I can feel this energy. And finally I went like, okay, I'm focused on getting to Bear Lake. Let me stop and see who these guys are along the way. And there I found in this here, two bears for Bear Lake. So here is one bear. You see his eye, his snout, and his arm. And behind him, it looks like Mrs. Bear, and she's up here. And then there are lots of other beings, because again, once a nature being artist starts to master manipulating this material, then they just go out, all out. You start seeing lots of other images in that tree or rock. So you see here, here's another, some eyes, a nose, a mouth. Here's a eye and a bird going down, and others around. It really works well when humans and nature work together. And we find that I'm very fond of arboretums because the arborists just love the trees. May love them on a different level than I do, but we both love them. And here's, this is Morton Arboretum in Illinois. And this is the happiest magnolia spirit. He is just amazing. And why is he so happy? Well, because he got really good medical treatment. He has a good medical plan. And the arborist there was a problem with that branch, and they cut it off and saved the rest of him, so he's nice and strong. And you can just see how happy he is by his life there. So that's the way I'd like to see nature and people operate everywhere. Now, I want to tell you a bit about how these nature beings, they work with their world different, their dimension differently than we do. And the beings there, they're responsible for all of nature. So there's the spirit of the tree or rock, and then there's the spirit of the beings who are working with the tree and or rock for a particular purpose. It might be a nodal point, it might be on the earth grid, but the green men are very benign. I'm very fond of them because they teach, and they're kind of academic, but they're also protective. They don't mind going to battle. So here are a number of green men I've photographed. You can see this one is looking up. Here's a green man in Hoh rainforest with kind of cat in the hat like projections. Here's a green man who formed himself out of the foliage of that area. He was very proud of this. And when I was going through, he wanted me to see this. And I was over on the side and he kept saying, no, 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 more, more, more. And finally I got here. He said, okay, here, don't I look good? So I got this photo. This is my friend for many years when I lived in Geneva, and he taught me a lot about the green men and about nature. One of the things he explained is if you know the Celtic plaques of the green men, and they have all these beautiful leaves coming out around them. Well, actually what it is, they're depicting the green men's facial armor. And here you can see in the side view, the what is would be leaves going out. And the green man explained that when they're at rest, it lies back from their face. But if they want to puff up for a lady or a political situation, then they bring their facial armor, you know, that looks like the leaves out around them, kind of like a peacock spreads his tail. And then if they're going into battle, they bring it all the way around and protect it like a mask. So you can see actually he has his armor all around his facial. Here's his nose, his mouth, and his eye. It's really fascinating learning about nature from these beings because they have a whole different view than we get in literature. So, okay. I love the gnomes. The gnomes are the ones who introduced me to this whole field of communicating with the nature beings knowingly and taking their photos. And gnomes they usually they're around the base of a tree, and they put their face, their image there. That's their address marker, and everybody is told then this is their territory. If you come in, you're coming into my territory. It also acts like an umbrella stand, and realities, dowsers know this is made up of grids. It looks solid, but it's all just layers and layers and layers of grids that give the look of solidity. So that this tree is this gnome's headquarters. And it goes up and his energy spreads out in a grid from him. And anything that comes down in his territory, he immediately knows and can be there. So it's a protective area. So here's one, usually they have a pointed hats. They have hats. And why do they have hats? I'm going to show you in the next slide here. But here's one. This is one of the few I've seen up high. This is in Garden of the Gods. And I love this one. This is in Central Park. And this is like Mr. and Mrs. Here's the male with his hat. And he's kind of got his finger wagging. And here's his kind of put upon wife here, with her top bun, her eyes, and her face. And I like this because I got this when there was a human couple walking by. I thought that was a good juxtaposition. Now, note, this is a close-up I'm showing you of two pine tree incise sculpting techniques. So this is a gnome at Morton Arboretum, and he does not have his hat on, and you can see he has a tall head with the shaggy hair. And they explain that their head is sensitive, so they wear a hat. So it's, you know, that's the reason for the hat. And here you see his mouth, nose, eye, ear, and he's in a Scots pine that has a very varied texture, but it's incised a bit. However, up in New England, the white pines that dominate there, they have a very tight, close bark. And what the nature beings do up there is they incise the image. out in the Midwest where I lived for many years, and they have a lot of oak trees, they use burls, and they'll do faces in burls. But the oak trees will incise. Now, right here, I'm showing you a close-up. So you can see how the nature beings work. It's like we were going to take a finger through butter. For them to work with the life force energy of the tree, it's like the same thing. They're working with the energy, and they just move the energy slightly and create these lines that create the nose, the mouth, the eye, his hair, and the ear. All right, so I want to show you a bit about technology, and here's where I bow to all of you on the line who are scientists working in this field. This is a basic overview that I scoped out in order to be able to compartmentalize what I can do and why I can do it and how I can teach others. And this is going to be a review just of technology, mysticism, the cycle of the ages, the electromagnetic spectrum, the Schumann resonance, and dowsing. So there, we're going to do this in 5 minutes or less. So this is Bryce Canyon. And here we have a wonderful dragon. This is the end looking out over. And I love this dragon. These are 2 profiles of the nature beings, and this dragon is their pet. And over here, it looks like a cathedral with people inside. So is this wind that did it, or is this nature beings that carved it? All right, so the technology. We have not been able to do this kind of work until our human technology upgraded to the point where it could see into these more subtle realms. Now, up to the time of the cameras and digital cameras, people would draw, artists would draw what they saw or were told, and people would say, oh yes, that's very nice, but that ferries your imagination. All right, so I'm taking photos, and for many people, some people not, many people, if they see so many photographs of so many beings, then it gives them, you know, cause to consider. So this is why the nature beings asked me to photograph them. They wanted to show humans that they are real and can work with them. So I use a Nikon D850, or I use my wonderful iPhone, and I use the Adobe camera, Adobe computer technology to come in and enhance the contrast, and so that what I'm showing you is what I see, adjusting the technology that we have to date. Now, the other thing is I'm also an animist. I found out that's what they call it, because I understand that everything in creation is alive. Everything contains source within it. That means if you go back far enough, you are going to get to the point where you're connecting to source in some way, and that common source is where you can communicate with others. So that means my cameras are work with me, and they're really wonderful if you're doing this kind of work, because the human vital will stand between you and the nature spirits, because they're working in a more rarefied dimension. But your camera doesn't have a vital. So when you are working with your camera, you can take a photograph of maybe what you hear the nature spirit saying, all right, take a photo here. That's what, when I first started, they say, take a photo here. And I'd say, what? There's nothing there. Just take the photo. And then I go back and I'd look at it on the computer, and I'd see what they were talking about. And that refined my ability to see. So your camera is kind of like training wheels for you. You know, it can help you if you can't see them. And this is Mama. She's the grandma Mesquite. She's out in Tucson, Arizona. Then there's metaphysics. Now, and we can, the metaphysicians throughout the ages, anybody who sees above the physical taps into the same information. It doesn't matter what culture you are or where you are. When you go above the physical and you start going back to source, you're tapping into the same energies that have created all of the variations on the physical. So there is Metatron's cube, which describes all of the energies in the universe. And there's Ezekiel's vision of the nature of the universe. And this pretty much covers the different ways that people will communicate with nature, with other dimensions. That is, you can see the universe as sacred geometry. You can see the light fields that are behind matter. Or you can communicate with the field from the beings who inhabit it, like the nature beings or other angels. You can also get channeled information handed to you from, some people do channeling from some higher level, or you can directly contact a source. So, so these are the 4 ways that we can go about this. I'm just spinning through quickly here. The one of the things that affecting and why more and more people are being able to see these nature spirits, nature beings, is because of the cycle of consciousness that occurs. And Sri Yukteswar was one of the first in the 1894 to bring back the Vedic cycle of the yugas, and which goes from the age of spiritual age, mental age, energy age, material age, and then it starts back up. So we're going through the very end of the Kali era, which is the age of darkness, and we're just beginning to go up in consciousness. So all of the conflicts and chaos we have now is a result of some people wanting to stay in that consciousness and other people wanting to go up. So there's getting to be a break where, according to many esoteric writings, there's going to be 2 Earths. Well, we're sort of seeing that now, because we're seeing people, just even politically in the United States, one side cannot even understand how the other side can have these opinions. So this break is occurring. And it's cheer up, because in only 13,000 years we'll be in the age of enlightenment and everything will be fine. Okay. And here's the Mayan calendar, and that is another way of charting time. There's also the electromagnetic spectrum, in which all of the different frequencies have life forms in it, and they cover different aspects of creation. Now, the problem that we're having nowadays with all our pollution is that our human technology is still in its infancy, and we're actually, instead of doing a paramagnetic situation where we can coexist, we're coming in and taking all of that information, which means that humans can't access it, and nature that lives there can't access it. And this is causing a drop in energy for everyone. So they say orbs exist in the infrared zone. So, that different things live different places. And there are people who are investigating that. There's also something called the Schumann resonance in human consciousness. And the Schumann resonance is pretty recent in development, and it refers to the resonant frequency of Earth's electromagnetic field generated between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. It resonates with the human brain waves and affects collective human consciousness. So this resonance used to be at 7.83 hertz throughout the 70s. But this year they're measuring, these are the different places they're measuring the hertz of this resonance, which could not happen before all the technology was here. And the yellow is the most intense. So and the way the the magnetic field of Earth is constructed, South Africa has the highest frequency. And then here you see Lithuania also has some high frequencies. And you see what's happening here in California. Meditators, if you're a meditator, you can register up to 200 hertz. The higher you go in hertz, the more benign you are, and the more you're able to see what's happening in all of the planes. So this is something that some people are exploring. I'm a dowser. I have been for many years. That's how I entered in a lot of this. And this is the mapping of energy and communication lines is a real strength of dowsers. And dowsers are people who can either use instruments or their own body to measure energy and to locate objects that exist somewhere in the universe. We just don't know where. So the British dowsers have been particularly interested in mapping ley lines, and that's the different, they define that as the different energy lines and grids that create Earth. And other people now around the world are using that as a term for these grids. So here's the famous Michael Mary line that the dowsers have dowsed, and they has a straight line going through Britain. And at all these points, they have locations that are dedicated either to Michael or Mary that just occurred. And then when the dowsers started saying, well, are they on the line? They found out that they lined up. And then there's another line that crosses it going down through Europe. The dowsers, because they do this, they can map all the geopathic crossings and help people have health in their house. But one of the issues with this is that we can see how what we are doing is affecting nature. And again, this is what the nature spirits are nature beings are trying to tell us, you know, like you have to stop what you're doing, how you're destroying Earth. You have to work in a more benign manner. So dowsers can help with this, but it's something we all should be doing. And this is the same thing, that concept of meridians, of lines of energy, or in the body, meridians. And there's also in nature, where the nature, a lot's being done nowadays about the wood wide web, where they understand, scientists are now able to graph that how trees communicate with each other through their root system, through bacteria. And this is just an example of one beautiful root system down in Tennessee. I have one of my friends sings as a healer. She's a vocal healer, and she lived in Arizona for a long time, and she took me out and introduced me to the swallow, and showed me how they connect to each other through frequency. So when she's out, she can see lines of frequency going between all of these swallow. And I work with stones. I had a rock shop for 25 years, love stones. And they look like they're separate, but they're also connecting with frequency. And the stones have taken me into many of their inner worlds. And in the inner worlds, they're very intelligent, very sophisticated, and very kind and loving. And they always have helped me when I needed a little love. All right, so now I'm going to show you what I do when I go out on a nature being photo shoot. And in these locations, I'm going to show you just a few. Now, these are locations I've shown. If some of you have been to my other events, I've shown you before. I'm going to more into depth now about how these are a sign of a really intelligent society that coexists with us. And first, I want to go into the realms of the nature being realms. These are all places that are enormously robust in the nature being activity, and they're very accepting, and they create sites of such strength that humans feel it and often call them gardens of the gods. So this is the Garden of the Gods in Colorado, and they make big grand statements here. And this is one that they showed me. I was taking a photograph of this, and then the nature being said, well, you know, do you see the mural there? And it took me a minute, and I went like, oh, wow. So this is a place where the Utes come, the Ute Nation comes each summer, and they do powwow in front of here. It's a huge cliff mountain. And in it, it's all red sandstone. But here, this is bleached sandstone, and it is bleached as a commemorative statement of the protection of the ant people of the inner world for humans and animals. And this twice in the Hopi history, which is the Hopi legends, they tell about how the ant beings would work with, brought the humans and the animals in. Once was the change of ages, when the world ended by fire, and the other was when it ended with ice. So here their ant person is backing up the Indian and the cougar. Now, the nature beings in the Garden of the Gods really love cougars. So I'm going to show you some more pictures where they've emphasized them. And then here is, this whole cliff is shaped like a turtle with the head of a turtle, and the turtle is Mother Earth. Here this is from another viewpoint, and you can see the ant's face more clearly, and the Indian and the cougar. Now here's another view of, here's another cougar. This is would be in their dimension a cemetery area, and from one view coming one way, you see the cougar looking down, and coming in from the other way, you're seeing the cougar as a death specter, a symbol of death. And up here, I thought it was very interesting. There was a prairie hawk, obviously old, and his feathers are bedraggled. And here are 4 mockingbirds who are facing off against them, and they're looking one in each of the 4 directions. So it was like coming to the end of that animal's life. And here on the other side is a coziness of a baby cougar, and in a heart. This is about 8 foot tall, and this children love to climb all over this. It's a very warm area. When I go by here, it's hard to get a shot without the kids. And you see the eyes, the ear, the nose, and the mouth, and you see the heart and the tail. Now, this is on one side of what I'm going to show you coming up. This is the other side. This is the side that the nature beings had me go the back way up through. I was walking along, and they stopped me and said, we want you to go in here. And it was a tiny trail that had been made. And then you came into here, and they told me this is a vision quest site. And here you see this being looks like a happy sphinx with his arms, is protecting the entrance. So you have to squeeze around here, and then you go in here, and this is like a vulva, of Mother Earth. And they explained that the Native Americans would come in here, and they'd have a vision quest. They could be either here where they get some shade, or the young braves would go and sit at the top in the sun for their quest. Now coming out, when you're inside here and you're looking out, this is the same rock, what you see in the other side. And the nature, if you look here, it has a natural, a little basin that collects rainwater. So on a vision quest, you only have water, and that would be something for the quester. Now, look at this. This is here. Now, over on this, and the heart is down in here, that heart rock. This is the other side of the vision quest, and here they're honoring the Native Americans, and this is an image of an older Indian with the headdress, the eye, the nose, the mouth, and the kind of bulging chin. So that's honoring, indicating a senior nature's Indian spirit overseeing the vision quest. And up here is that gnome that I showed you earlier. So it's representing the earth energies helping the native. I'm going to go to another one, and this is the Garden of the Gods in Illinois. And this is a more intimate setting. This is a very, very lush area, lots of trees and water. This is called Camel Rock. Has a look like a camel, and there are lots of other images here that you can see of other beings. As I was walking along, I came to one little alcove, and there the guardian of place called on me to please stop, not please stop, to stop, and to listen to his story. He wanted to share a story. So this is the view from the little alcove looking out. It's just a beautiful view. Now this is the view looking down, and in here, this is a portrait of the guardian of place, and I'll show you a little later how that compares to when he was young and when he was now. Now, a guardian of place is a special energy that oversees a territory and is in charge of the well-being of everything in that area. So this guardian of place was overseas and helps to the stone life forms to manifest in the most positive way they can. So you see here's one stone up here, one image, and there are other images around here and more over on this side. But he is facing the back wall of the canyon. And here, this is the back wall, and I call these the mothers. It looks like a clack of mothers sitting around chatting with each other. And here is this nice stairwell that the Park Service built through here. But I want you to look over here. Now, I don't think hardly anybody notices it. And frankly, I wouldn't have if the guardian of place hadn't asked me to stop and look. This is so interesting. It tells his love story. Now, these are Lies Gang, which is bands. That's iron in sandstone. And when the sandstone wears away, the Liz Gang ribs form images. Now, the guardian of place used these to move, like we saw in the tree, to move and to create images of the story. And this is the story he explained to me about a woman who loved him when he was young and who remained true to him throughout her life, and he was honoring her love. And it shows her in typical Picasso style. You can see her as a young lady leaning over, and you also see her as a hag with just one tooth coming around, and you can see here. Now, she is dreaming, here's a balloon going up, about him. She always, all her life, and here he is when he was young. He had his curly hair and his big smile and his hat, but he was dreaming, and this is a cobra. head like they have in the Far East of Vishnu. He's dreaming of spiritual development. And down here, she's leaning over and her hand is going up to her image of him when they were young and were making love together. And you see his bare back and his rear and his legs. So this is a little complex to see, but I wanted you to see all of this that that can be made by these nature beings working in another dimension, and how sophisticated they are to be able to manipulate living energy like this. And here you see the two images. You see the guardian when he was young, and then you see the guardian when he was old. So young, he had all the warm colors and the smile, and here he's weathered, he's seen hard things. You see the smile's not there, but he's wearing a crown instead of a hat. He now wears a crown with this tree as a sprig. Another thing that the nature beings do is they are aware of us, although we are not yet often aware of them. And they recognize beautiful, soulful people. And here's an area in Central Park, Strawberry Fields, where they actually have done a memorial to John Lennon. So here is what the humans have done, and Yoko Ono had created all of this, established this. Here is a beautiful geometric mosaic with Imagine, and humans come here every day. They start out in the morning with a few flowers. By the afternoon, all of this is filled with flowers and people playing his music. Now, over to the right of all that is where the nature beings have honored John Lennon. And this tree, this is a major tree memorial. And here they are honoring him as Pan. And Pan is a nature being whose music is so beautiful that it enchants animals and humans. So you see John Lennon with the long hair, and he's playing the pan pipes. So you see him playing the pipes. And here's a rabbit being entranced by him. Here's a human over here with a fat little tummy and being entranced, and some nature beings. And here it is in the tree here. And here are other images going up and around the tree. And that's not all, folks. So you keep going across, you were over the tree, now you're coming along, and this is the wide grassy area of Strawberry Fields. And I want you to look here and here. Those are two stone outcroppings they have fashioned. Here they put his head. See his eye and his chin and his hair going down. And over here is the body, the fallen body. There's no head here, and it's just representing his death. Now over in here, this is the other side, and this you're going to see is the feminine. And here they explain to me it's their rendering of Yoko Ono as a lady of the forest. The ladies of the forest are elevated beings who oversee the life forms. And here they show her with, her a gaunt face and sorrow, her sorrow. You see her here with a traditional flame that rises out of the crown, indicating wisdom. And here is her vulva, which is leaking, which is her base chakra, leaking her sorrow into the earth for over his death. Can't make these things up, just beyond that. And here I'm going to show you the last one, and this is fixing earth problems humans have caused. Now, the nature beings, and this is what they want to emphasize to us, the nature beings are in charge of the health of the earth, and they do the best they can. When humans come, and humans seem to love war, they love to, this discord. When they cause all of these wars, it actually sinks down into the earth, and then the nature beings might have to spend generations repairing all of these grids that have been torn apart by this discord. So this is one area, this is a community where I live, and I was admiring how beautiful this tree is, and they called me over to look. So down here, there are some images of the nature beings, and they are working still to overcome and repair the tears to the grid that occurred during the Battle of the Brandywine in 1777. Now, this tree was not alive there, but as other trees were cleared for farmland and all, that was a nodal place on the grid that had to be filled somewhere in that area to radiate the healing energies out. And here they're trying to do this through love. It's a Quaker community, so they're working peacefully through the love. And here's a light infantry officer, British. You see his pom-pom and his helmet. Here's his helmet, the pom-pom, his eye, his mustache, his chin, and his side gear. And then they're also working on the enlisted men. And here's like a crusty sergeant that one could look straight out of Rudyard Kipling. And up here is a puppy, kind of a frisky puppy. And down here is a masked wood elf. And the masked elves are the warriors of the elven tribe. And I've photographed a lot of them. Some reason I seem to see them a lot. I think because they're working more in between the human and the nature being dimensions, trying to protect the nature realms from any discord. And you see his eye, his helmet comes over here, and his mouth and his helmet comes down here. Now, on the other side of this are the life forms, the nature beings who are doing this. So here is the same tree in the winter, and here is this scene. And this is the deva of the area. The deva of this area covers, that's the one in charge of a whole large territory. She is unique in that she has, I've never seen this before, she has a cropped bangs and a thick cropped hair. And here's her face. She has a little nose coming in. And here is her consort and her military protector. And this is another hooded wood elf. See his long ears, his eye, the nose, his mouth, his chin, and his armor coming down over him. And then here's their pet. So I'm going to stop here. And I do have more if we want to see more, but right now I'm going to stop and ask for questions, Judy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I was noticing that, and you mentioned it on your webpage that when you're out and you are stopping you're feeling like you want to take a photograph. I believe you said to one of the things to do is to really kind of do a study of the area, because there's more than one image, right? And of course, in everything you've shown, there are many images, and if you change your perspective, if you zoom out, there are kind of layers upon layers of images there, which makes it so complex and interesting.
Yes, thank you for asking about that. I'll just give you a brief overview. When I go someplace, I've been taught the first thing that I do is to, if I'm out on a photo shoot and I want to take photos, is I first salute the deva of the area. And even if I don't feel it, you're sending this up. You're sending up in there that I'm offering this in respect. I come in ahimsa. I come to be of service. And then it gets their attention. They come in and they can see your energy field. We can't hide it like we can from other humans. They can see in. And at that point, they can see if you're coming in a spirit of peace and to understand. And then I say, if there's anything here, anyone here who would like to be photographed, please lead me to them. And then I meditate for a moment, just pause and center, and then I start walking. And I might do one of two things. If it's a very large area, I might start walking around to just get the scope of where it is if I haven't been there before. And then other times when I'm going in, as soon as I go in, an energy comes and says over here. So then I follow that instinct, that pull, and which leads me into interesting things like a big patch of poison ivy between me and the tree. And I'm going like, you're kidding. And it was like, no, we need you to get over there. And I went like, okay, but if I get poison ivy, it's your fault. But I did not get it. So they take care of you if you're out there. Now, once you're at the tree or the rock, you might have to adjust. You've been called to this tree. There's something you have to see. And then you have to just keep adjusting your frequency and seeing, then all of a sudden you get into the resonance of what you're looking for and it clicks. And then as soon as it clicks, then you're into the energy of what they want to show you there. However, I take a lot of people out on workshops. And I find it very interesting that a group might go to the same tree and see different things. And that's because different people resonate at different levels. So I might go and see a bear and someone else might go and see a wolf because that's the energy they like. And is that pareidolia? No. That is the fact that this one tree has been there 200 years. It's a lot of time to be there. And they're adjusting to what's going on around them. They might see something that they want to understand, so they embody it, or they might be a nodal tree, but they have many different frequencies overlapping in that one tree that you can connect to. Now, once you see it, you want to start at the base. As soon as you see one image, they probably have others with other aspects of the tree energy. So you always walk all the way around the tree and you look down and you look up and you see what's going on. So that's a brief summary.
I mean, that's so wonderful. It's so connected. Which came first for you? Were you always connected to elementals and nature spirits, and then the photography kind of came out as an expression of that, or did the devas and nature spirits start contacting you through your work?
Well, I was raised Quaker. I spent 28 years in a yoga group where we had it was a bhakti yoga where we had 24-hour meditation. So I was used to going up and connecting to the higher realms and higher angels and higher beings. And then when I went out on my own and I went up to my family place in New Hampshire, I was aware that summer in my cottage that something else was living in the cottage. And I was there on my own, and I was kind of freaking out, like I couldn't see what it was, but I knew something was there. So after 3 days being there of trying to suss it out, I guess the gnome got tired of it and he materialized in front of me. And then it's the code of the nature beings that if you do something nice to them, they have to say thank you and offer you a gift. So he appreciated that I had this beautiful cottage that he could live in. And we had a discussion and said, all right, you can live here 50 weeks a year, but the 2 weeks I'm here, you get the garage. So we agreed on that. And then he said, well, let me say thank you. Let me take you out. And would you like to photograph a moss fairy? And I went like, okay. Now, my mother was a reporter and a photographer, specialized in people. So that was never my interest. But I guess the nature being saw that that was in my family, so that maybe I could take a photo too. So he led me all the way around and he showed me this moss fairies. I took a photo, I got it, and that was the start of, I started to develop my ability to take photos, but I was not a photographer before that.
That's so interesting how you were invited into that world. Actually, I wrote down this quote from your site that says, I view my work as offering humans an easily accessible artistic entry point into the sophisticated intricacies of nature being societies. I love that so much because I don't, and this is my ignorance, as a kind of novice to all of this. When I think of fairies or gnomes, I think of like individuals, right? Or the leprechaun that appeared to Tanis Hallowell, and when you talk about these really intricate societies, and they're working, they're aware of humans, they're aware, they're working really diligently with this energy. It's just such a beautiful worldview. It's so expansive. I love it.
Yeah, now everybody has their there's so many different ways that life formed on Earth. My particular group, they explained to me that at one time when humans are an import to Earth, and the nature beings are of Earth, they evolved up through Earth. So when the humans got imported, and eventually they came into conflict with each other, what the higher metaterrestrials did, they separated the dimensions. And they said, okay, you can coexist on Earth and you just are in different dimensions. But now consciousness is rising and we're coming into contact with each other. So it really behooves us to start learning to cooperate, because eventually we're going to come to a point where we both are using the same piece of land, and we're going to have interdimensional conflicts if we don't learn to, change things around. So that's why I think it's so important that we start recognizing this other realm of beings that coexist with us.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit before we started this meeting, about how the future, it seems to me the future is really in interdimensional cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
With all kinds of non-human intelligences, and the fact that I think humanity needs to rapidly develop a sense of humility and a sense of our place within this big web, of intelligences, most of them more subtle than ours, and to have, so that we can access resources to bring more harmony onto the planet.
Yeah, I often think my yoga teacher used to say, if there is a fight that goes on, it's the fault of the higher being, because they could change it. But sometimes I think about how we are like the infant level, and these other beings are so complex. I mean, they can change energy and it is still alive. They don't have to tear it apart. On the other hand, we are the ones that physically can move things about that the nature beings can't. So they need us to physically help them and move things. So it's a symbiotic relationship really that we have, that we need to develop.
Exactly. That cooperation and I was going to say brotherhood. What's the non-gendered brotherhood? Um, I don't know. Partnership. Carol says that when she looked at your images through her camera on her phone, the images really popped into view. So she was taking pictures of your images and then looking at her image of your images, and they really just came out. It's so interesting, you know, how different perspectives, different technology brings these images forth.
Yeah, that's what I mean, if you make friends with your cell phones and your cameras, because what they're doing is they're taking an image of what's there. And because I was discussing the nature beings, they were coming forward. So when Carol was taking the images, the photos, she was seeing the living energy coming forward, and she was getting even more. I think fantastic. Hey, Carol, join my closed Facebook group and post your photos there. I think that is wonderful.
That is fun. If anybody listening, join that. Can you say what the Facebook group is? Because
Yeah,
people,
it's nature beings around the world. And
yeah.
if you go to Facebook and you ask to join, you can come in and you can share your photos, and you can see photos that other nature being photographers take.
And I just love that people are doing this all over the world. Renee wants to know how she can learn what you do to do what you're doing.
How to learn what I'm doing. You make friends with your inner team. Uh, and that's the best way. Each of us has an inner team. We all have an angel, and we have and if you sit quietly in nature and you say that to nature that you want to be of service, not that you're doing it for them, but you want to be of service, how can we help? And if there's something in your yard or your area in nature that needs to be fixed, if you go out and you fix that, immediately you're the arms and legs for a lot of the nature realm. They are so appreciative that they will come forward, and it'll strengthen your ability to connect to them.
I think that's really wonderful. You know, approaching them in humility and saying, and you know, and honoring and saying, I want to be of service is just a huge first step. Cecilia wants to know, could you speak about the areas that seem to us to be barren, such as vast areas of desert?
Sure. And also Jerry Jin raised his hand. So next,
Okay.
go to him. So actually those areas are not barren. It just has a different life form there. There are areas that are barren, or places that either the earth has, in dowsing, what we know is that there are negative and positive vortexes. And on a spiritual piece of property, you have to have a negative and a positive vortex. The negative vortex pulls the negative energies out of the air, and it funnels it down into the earth. And you actually help earth. That's a place where you could go and stand and take all of your anger or bitterness or whatever, or your stress of the day, and you just take it and you drop it. And the earth like sucks it out of you and leaves you clear, and it enhances the balance of yin yang energy. And then very often somewhere near the negative energy, there's a positive vortex. And then you go stand in the positive vortex and you feel with nature energy comes down in, and it stabilizes and strengthens you. So there's no place on earth that doesn't have a function. You just have to learn what it is, unless it's a war-torn area where anything that can be done positively, meditation, prayer, or whatever you do to help, helps the nature beings as well.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Jerry now, and Carol wants to know if you could put the slide back up with your contact information on it.
Oh, sure.
So,
There.
Jerry, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Okay. Hi, Atala. I
Hi,
really
Jerry.
enjoyed the time we had in Flagstaff when I was on your workshop, and we were photographing all the various trees and things of that nature. And I thought I mentioned to the group that maybe I enjoy feeling energies, and I'm able to do that, and I can measure it. And there are some trees that were there in Flagstaff that you mentioned. Well, they have a lot more energy because they're elders. I forgot the exact reason. And you actually can go to just those trees as compared to other trees, and the energy differences are spectacular. And that's what I sort of appreciated that when I was taking pictures at your workshop. So the energy levels of the elders of the forest can be quite different from the younger trees, and you can actually feel all those differences. And I can measure the BJ3s of it, etc. But I just thought I'd mention that because I enjoyed that. So.
Thank you, Jerry. It was really fun to have you in the class and in the workshop, and you're, such a profound metaphysical scientist. I really appreciate, and I appreciate your insight and reminding me to mention that. Yeah, in Flagstaff, the pines there, that they have a lot of fires, and the older pines would teach the younger ones how to deal with the situation. And in any place that you go, when you find an elder tree that's lived for hundreds of years, you can just sit with that tree, sit beneath it, and enter into its energy, and you can just change your own life immensely. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt hugging those trees was marvelous. So I appreciate what you did.
Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jerry. You mentioned the wood wide web.
Right.
I love that term. I had never heard it before, but how beautiful, right? But all of the research that's coming out about how trees communicate with mycorrhizomes and all of that. You really do get this sense of being immersed in a web, and that we're just beginning to notice. Bridget wants to know, what photo editing software do you use?
I use the Adobe, and the reason I use that is that they are determined to just explore, and they're always updating their software. They're very, very good, and it's very easy to use once you start learning how to use it. So I just stay there. I'll also use Topaz and Nick, as add-ons. But some people say that the Adobe, if you just get the photographer's version, which you get Photoshop and Lightroom's great for organizing all your photos. It's not that expensive, and the reason it's a monthly subscription is they're always updating. So and you also can go on YouTube and get scads of information on how to work that product. It's very well documented.
That's wonderful. I was in the old days, the last time I tried Adobe, I thought it was complicated, but I think it's gotten better.
Oh yeah, they're doing everything they can to make it less complicated, and at the same time it's much more subtle. So
nice, user friendly.
Yes.
Your latest book is which one?
That is The Truths the Nature Beings Have Shown Me. And that is 120 photos, and then I have it broken out into areas that I wasn't able to cover, like judicial councils, that the nature beings have, and family gatherings and jokesters. Their society is as complex as the human one is, and so I break it down and show you a bit there. So good book to have.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Maybe for the holidays. And what do you have coming up? What are your next projects?
The next projects that I'm working on is basically I'm beginning to give workshops again. So I will probably, if you get on my mailing list, which you can get on via my website, I'll let you know. I'm teaching, I really want to teach people how to get out there. So I'm working on that. I'm also working on more in-depth discussion. We finally have reached the point where I can come out and actually say what's happening instead of having to be circumspect. You know, many of us who work in the metaphysical have to use certain language, but we don't need to do that anymore. And that's really refreshing, and it's allowing me to speak out more.
You know, I love that. That's really, really true. There's been a lot of esoteric knowledge, I think, that's been under wraps for a long time, and it seems that it's coming out and being more accepted, you know, so that we can actually speak openly about this stuff, which is really wonderful.
Yeah, I think you see that throughout all society, but you know, there is reaction to it, but there are people going forward, and it's an open acceptance of all the different lifestyles and understanding of all the different ways that mentally people are oriented, and we're willing to look at things and say that there are other ways to look at it. And I think that's very helpful. And a lot of the people that you have speaking at your foundation, I'm so impressed that you have all of them coming. They're just breakthroughs everywhere that's going on.
There's a lot of really exciting stuff that's happening. I have a dowsing question for you from Tom.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dowser. He has 12 earth energy lines on his 30 acres. A number of them cross in his yard, and one in his house. How can he tell with confidence which is positive and which is negative? Is that a long answer?
That's a PhD level. And the only thing I would say that's your PhD. And that, Tom, you need to start exploring all the ways that you can understand. And that perhaps if you are a dowser who uses pendulums and rods, you might start exploring, understanding how the universal energy is coming down through you to move the rod or the pendulum. And you could also do it inside yourself with body dowsing, and exploring and listening to the energies. Like you're using the rod to get the answer, but you could just listen to the energies, and that's the PhD level, and then you would know yourself what your situation is and why you were called to live there.
What a great answer. It sounds very spiritually advanced, you know, way of being. That's wonderful. Carol says, I bet meditating on your 120 photos would be useful in communicating with nature. It would be an interesting practice. Have you found that meditating on the images?
Actually, that's one of the reasons I started a website is, and I really encourage people to go in. I have so much information on my website, and I've started an international nature beings photographers gallery where other people who are doing it and looking at it in different ways are featured, and you can check out them as well. But anytime that you're looking at an image and you're identifying, and I work so hard to make these accurate, that you can move into that energy and you can see and feel what it's like. You get used to it so that when you go out, you can transfer that, and you're used to, you've read what the road to Rome is. Now you can go out and walk it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. There was a question about whether or not the Truths book was going to come out in a Kindle version, but it's a photo book, right? I don't, does Kindle do photos?
No, Kindle is verbal. It doesn't, so I have not solved that yet. And
Yeah.
anyway, it's very nice to, if you want to just see my work, you can go to my website. If you want to feel it and tactile, then you get the book.
Yeah, I can vouch that the website is just so much fun to just go through and click on things and read what you've written, and there's teachings, it's like getting teachings as you're looking at these images, and the stories of how you got them is really, really wonderful. So somebody is asking, do you know of any activities that humans do as part of our daily routine that nature beings are not fond of, such as cutting Christmas trees or burning firewood or clearing weeds from lawns?
I thank you for that. When I first started doing this work, I always remember that when I first started out in yoga, and I was reading this book about Sri Ramakrishna, and one of his devotees was overwhelmed by bed bugs around on his bed, and he went like, oh, what am I going to do? Ahimsa, I can't kill things. What? Oh, I better go ask the master. So he knocked on Ramakrishna's door, and he came in, and Ramakrishna said, just a minute, I have to get rid of all these bed bugs. So it's like you have to have parameters for your behavior no matter where you are. And there are bullies in the nature being world, just like there are any place else. And there are bullies in your lawn, like an area for dandelions is fine, but not dandelions all over. They're bullies, and they crowd out other things. And one of the things we learn in dowsing is, for instance, if you have insects in dowsing and yoga. I had black ants in one of my houses, and the big ones, because there was some moisture. And I went like, okay, first I listened to the stone world, and they said, put these fiber logs and black kyanite outside, and that will sweeten the energy so the ants don't want it. And then the other thing is, I talked to the ants, and I said, all right, I'm giving you 2 weeks. I set up a nice place for you outside. After that, that's your area. Anything that's inside, if you don't want them to go to a higher incarnation, they go out. If they're in after 2 weeks, I'm assisting their elevation.
Boundaries.
Yes.
You have been warned. I love that. I love that, because you do have to, I think you might be over. I hear that a lot. I read that in the Michelle Small Wright's book on Paralandra, that when she first started working with the nature spirits, they're like, great, all in, waking her up at 2 o'clock in the morning, until she had to say, nope, from 8 to 5 is when we're working. So I think it's an important lesson in working with nature spirits and humans.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy says that she lives with a group of fae that show her movement. They present in multiple directions at once. They layer, like you mentioned. They're very loving, don't want to induce fear. She was called outside, and the grass and trees started moving like how she sees the fae in her home. Everything was alive, and it was a little overwhelming. She felt like she's standing between two places. Any words of wisdom for dealing with that sense of overwhelm as the senses expand?
Well, one thing is when you are in overwhelm like that, you find it finally breaks down your human barriers, and you finally have to say, all right, this is not my imagination. This is really happening to me. So that's really a gift that you're getting. One, that they want to work with you enough that they keep giving you that feeling. The second is you have to start learning how to set up boundaries. And you when you're going, what happens is there's all these different levels of frequency. Now when you go up above, then you start seeing the energy of the nature, and that how fluid it is, and then you start seeing the life forms, so you start seeing the beings. But this doesn't do very well if you have to exist in the outside world. So you have to do, as you mentioned with Michelle Small, right, or what I do, you have to start building your walls, which is how come humans only see the third dimension, because we are learning to master the physical, and there are very few places in the universe that have physical form like we have here. So it's just part of the learning, and meditation and action. And you have to one of at one point we could go into the forests and the ashrams and withdraw from society, but if you're being called to work in society, then you have to start learning how the spread of frequencies work, that you can work inside and then you have to come in and work outside. And that means you open this door to go in, and then you close that door and open this one. So it's like different doors that you're opening and going into, and you just need to, that comes with experience.
Right. That sounds like the development of mastery for how to walk between the worlds, Really wonderful. And I think that was the last question that was submitted.
Okay.
So I'm going to give people one more chance. unless we're at an hour and a half right now. So this might be a good place to end.
All right.
And so I will do that. I will say thank you so much. This has just been delightful, just delightful. I want to put a plug in again for the website, atalatoy.com. Go there. You can just go down the rabbit hole, have a really wonderful time learning and getting all of these wonderful images. And join those Facebook communities, because I think the more you see people doing this, the more accessible it becomes. Right. I think it's less daunting to say, oh, I don't know if I can do it, but people are doing it. People are doing it all over the world. And Atala, I just love that you're creating the space for people to explore this and to have fun with it. So
thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
Judy. Thank you so much for inviting me to present in your beautiful community. And I love the work you're doing, and keep it up, and all the people you help. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. Happy holidays. This is our last presentation for the year. So everyone, enjoy the winter holidays. Wish you health and happiness, and we'll see you in the new year. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.